She had a pressure ulcer on her back, which when measured was about 11 by 13 inches, and you could actually see her spine.
He kept hitting me and hitting me and hitting me. And he said, "I'm gonna finish you off."
She would come around, she would knock on the door, and after my insistence of him not answering the door, she started to knock on the windows.
I didn't like that at all.
What she started to do was slowly consolidate her aunt's financial accounts, and she also had her aunt sign a quitclaim deed. And that was done several months after Miss King was diagnosed with dementia.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of different ways for an older adult to become abused. Emotional abuse, financial abuse, physical abuse, neglect. Sexual assault certainly happens in older adults. Oftentimes, people who are abused in one way are actually abused in other ways as well.
1 in 10 individuals over the age of 60 are abused, yet only 1 in 25 report it.
So the issues of fear of intimidation and embarrassment, I think, are very common.
Not only is this a current problem, but it's become significantly enhanced with the increase in population. Then we have an obligation and responsibility to equip our officers with the proper tools of investigation and preservation of evidence.
What the patrol officers do when they respond to these scenes is absolutely critical in my final investigation. When they're there, they can ask questions of an investigative nature that I may not be able to ask later on.
Where there's a potential victim and a potential suspect in a house, we always separate them.
Bill, can I have you step back here, please, and talk to me for a minute? Just real quick. Appreciate it.
So the victim and the suspect can't hear each other.
Talking to the older adult privately and asking, is anybody hurting you? Are you afraid of anybody? Is anybody using your money without your permission?
Has he hurt you before?
Dig deeper, try to look for inconsistencies with what the victim could be saying.
Because a lot of times victims will lie to officers just to protect themselves from further abuse.
Use patience and understanding. The victim may be more willing to describe what's going on if you're patient with them and just are sympathetic and understanding.
Just because somebody has a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease or some other dementia doesn't mean we can't interview them and talk to them, but it does mean we want to pick the times. So for example, there's something called sundowning syndrome, where people with dementia get more confused later in the day.
Keep the questions very simple, very direct. If you need a time frame when something happened, give them anchors like what was on TV at the time. Was it light out? Was it dark out? Was it springtime? Was it summer? Was it winter? Was it bingo day?
One of the most important things is documentation of everything. Everything from smell to sight to, is there food in the house? Is there a place for someone to go to the bathroom, to wash, to brush their teeth?
Look at the evidence. What does the evidence tell you about what might be going on in the home? Talk to the neighbors. Look for other signs of violence in the home.
When you do see some evidence of bruising, asking if you can look at arms, legs, torso, whatever the person will allow you to see is very important because, as we know, bruises fade over time. Bruising that is on the head, neck, soles of the feet, buttocks, torso are highly suspicious related to possible abuse.
This is now my house.
If a suspected abuser hands you a durable power of attorney, don't assume that that means that there isn't a crime going on. A power of attorney is a document that authorizes somebody to act on someone else's behalf, and so legal ability to touch or move or negotiate funds is not the same as a blank check to steal those funds.
We're finding across the country more and more multidisciplinary teams forming so that when that frontline person has a concern, they have a place to go where they have a reliable mechanism where people with expertise in social services, medical care, prosecution, guardian, all those different groups can come together and help figure out what's going on and what needs to be done to protect this person.
We collaborate early. We talk about what to put in a search warrant. We talk about what photographs to take. We have these conversations because we're always sort of thinking to the end of the case.
These interviews and investigations have to be coordinated in such a way that they flow and give reassurance and confidence to the victim. They've just left a chaotic situation. What they don't need is a chaotic investigation.
Having an advocate with me was invaluable because it showed the victim at that time that that police weren't just there to investigate the crime, but the police were there to make sure that they were safe.
Adult Protective Services is in every state. Law enforcement should know who the caseworkers are on their local level.
They have information, they have resources, and frankly, they're really good at talking to these victims. A lot of times they're people that they trust.
And I appreciate what the social workers bring, and the social workers here appreciate what we bring a lot more, and the trust level has gone through the roof.
When a patrol officer goes into a situation where an older adult is there, and that older adult might be just sitting in the corner, not responsive, realize that's not normal aging. That's not what should be happening. To see if they're able to interact with you or if they seem withdrawn and afraid, that's a wonderful position that only a patrol officer might be able to really suss out for somebody.
Police officers in general have a pretty good intuition of when things aren't right.
See what's going on, what's bothering them, ask those simple questions that can potentially make a huge difference.
You're not gonna catch everything, but in the same token, just put a little bit effort forth, a little bit more, and might come out with something big.